Good afternoon, all. Camelback Trading 2724 and thepitfuturestrading.com coming to you this Tuesday afternoon, March 31st. And a very interesting end to the day and historic first quarter, as a lot of conflicting information throughout the day kept me a little bit on my toes. I ended up having a very good day. Used a ton of mental reserve in here, which I'll talk about in a minute. There are a lot of conflicting things. We had a chance for a trend day up, failed. Chance for a trend day down, failed. We go out with a price spike to the bottom. We end 9 wide. We do take out last week's high, only to fail and have basically four days with very close highs together. So the question is that the chicken pecking at the top of it to break through and finally explode to that 271 level, or buy is tied and we're going to roll over to the bottom of this 4-day balance to the 249.05 level. That's the question. I'm not surprised we sold today, considering it was such a horrendous quarter, that whoever wanted out would get out of their losses and hopefully get back in at either this same level or cheaper prices to start the second quarter. So they took the bad stuff off the books. It was confusing for me this morning for a couple of reasons. I was overlapping a high a good part of the day, yet we stopped one time framing up after only 3 time frames. Now, I held the single prints. ES did not. I held them and actually made a new high. But off of that high, we didn't get much. So there's a lot of conflicting things. The only trade I took in the first 5 time frames was a long in C period. It was a nice one. We opened, we had singles, we came down, got long, got out at B's high. Remember, we had the price probe and the price spike yesterday. We opened below the probe, which was rejected, and right around the price spike. And as soon as we got into it, we went down the POC, which wasn't a surprise. But I didn't do anything there. So the one trade I took was C. D 1 time frame down, held the singles and made a new high. So there's a lot of, should I have been long here with 1 time framing down? Should I be short up here? Well, meanwhile, we still have the singles. We're 1 time framing up again. We had overlapping a higher value, yet we failed again at last week's high. So a lot of conflicting things kept me out. However, when F started coming in and we were 5 out of 6 wide, I thought, okay, we still have overlapping a higher value. I'm going to start playing from the long side, even though we got below the opening. I did it with calls, not the ETF. I started buying calls. Didn't start big. But however, by the time I was done, F, G, H, and I was very big. 2 things kept me in the game being long. Value was still overlapping a high for me at the time. I know the ES was unchanged. And each new low we made kept getting rejected back into the initial balance. So, yes, I was down a good amount and I was long a lot. But once you can see, especially H, when H flushed down and came immediately back, I felt a little more comfortable. And when I couldn't take out H's low and got back into A, every time we rallied, I took some off, came back, put it back on. So I kept lowering my cost. My goal was the POC and to stop 1 time framing down, because by that time, we were 5 wide. I figured we would at least get to POC and stop the 1 time framing, which is what we did. So I turned a very, very big loss into a gain. A small, not a big gain, but a gain. Wasn't worth the mental reserve I used. However, that's why I held on to it, and it worked out. K period, again, I took another long. It came in. Took a long back up to it, so that worked out nicely. When L started, I said, if we don't take out K's high, that's a good chance. It's the afternoon rally high. I would like to see us come back down, get through the POC, stop 1 time framing, and test the lows. Called it very well. I did not short it up here, though. That would have been a beautiful short. That would have been the innovator. But I did short it before we even took out K's low, and it turned out to be a really quick pop and a nice one. And then I got back in and scalped it 2 more times in L period. Did 1 more short in F and M period because we opened with a set of single prints and a chance for a trend day down. We didn't get it, but we opened. There was some poor structure when it ran up. Took a put play before we covered this, filled the singles, and took it back down, and that was the last trade I did. So it turned out to be a good day, but a lot of mental reserve used up in that hour and a half. We do go out with a price probe. Price spike. We did not make a new low in M. Price spike. H is low. We closed below it. So first destination on the upside will be 257.94, which is the price spike. Then $2 above that is 9 wide at 259.94. Our afternoon rally high of 260.64. Today's high of 263.33 and then 271.08 daily high. For the downside, we have today's low of 256.22. Yesterday's low of 253.53, 252.20 afternoon pullback low from March 27th, 251.05 daily low, and 249.05 daily low. Now, today's volume, 180 million, better than yesterday so far. We're going to do whatever, 185, 190, but still way below the average of 272. So, both sides, even though we're one time framing up, the market was down today. I guess you could contribute that also. It's basically a 4-day balance. And a market imbalance is a market waiting for more market-generated information. So that's another reason that this volume has probably been less the last bunch of days. Now let's get to the charts. Let's start with the monthly. So the month is done. Started off on a bang this quarter, right? New highs in January, all-time high in February. Things are going great. And then in 19 trading days, everything gets wiped out. We have an outside month down in February. March continues the onslaught. We have traded about we got as high as $45 off our low. So that's a bright spot, but we are one time framing down right now in the monthly, which had a tremendous, tremendous range. So the question is, maybe we can have an inside month in the month of April, but we'll see. Remains to be seen. Weekly, now here comes the interesting parts. The weekly is now one time framing up. So instead of calling it down to balance, I'm now just calling it balance. I'm not calling it up yet, just balance. We've taken out the 3 previous weeks' highs, yet we've had very, very little success getting good distance away from it, especially since there is a void above here. We're talking 271.08 is a daily high, and then I think the next destination above that is in the 280s. So it's a little surprising that we haven't been able to get more out of these highs. The only thing I could really attribute it to, it is the end of the quarter these last couple of days. It's been a horrible quarter, so they just want to keep selling it to get these losers off the books. And then maybe tomorrow when new money comes in, we'll finally get above these 3 weeks' highs and get going. So that's the one thing I guess we can look forward to. Because on the daily, as you can see, yes, we're one time framing up 6 days, but the last 4, we haven't gotten away from anything. So yes, it's a feat. We haven't taken out any of the previous day's lows, but we have hit a wall so far at each new high we've made. But again, I like to use that chicken analogy where it just pecks you to death. So the question is that what's going on here? They're pecking you to death, and now new money comes in tomorrow. We get above, and boom, 271.08. It's not going to be hard to get to if we get accepted above these 4-day highs. Or are the buyers tired? We're going to roll over and test the bottom of the 4-day balance at 249.05. It certainly wouldn't be the end of the world if we did that, right? Especially if you were to get down to around that level, hold it, and start coming right back up, right? Test the bottom of the balance the way we're testing the top, come back up, and then eventually, if not this week or tomorrow, then take it out. Maybe that would be healthier. Remains to be seen. So it'll be a very interesting when we finally break through either up here or if we don't hold and get through the bottom of that balance. I hope you guys and gals all had a good day trading. Have a great night, and we'll speak prior to the opening tomorrow.